You don't need more time. You need a perfect plan, and you definitely don't need to feel ready. Your comeback, it starts now, right here in the middle of the frustration, the doubt, the inconsistency, the because that's where real change actually begins, not when everything feels aligned. And when you decide you're done accepting less from yourself, and if that sounds harsh, good. Because the truth is, most people stay stuck not because they can't change, but because they keep negotiating with the habits they are holding them back. They keep saying, just one more day, just one more delay. And those small decisions, they stack up into weeks, the months, even years of no progress. And eventually they start believing that's just who they are, but it's not. It's just a pattern you've repeated long enough to feel permanent. And the moment you interrupt that pattern, even in a small way, you start shifting momentum. And momentum is everything when it comes to a comeback. Because once it's moving, it becomes easier to keep going. But getting it started requires something most people avoid, and that's discipline. Without emotion, action without overthinking, execution without needing to feel motivated first. Because motivation is unreliable. It shows up when it wants, it disappears when things get hard. But discipline is a decision. And the decisions are something you control. So if you're waiting to feel like it before you start, you've already delayed your comeback. Instead, you start by doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. And that might sound simple, but it's not easy because your brain is wired to seek comfort, to avoid effort, to stay in familiar routines, even if they're not serving you. So when you try to change, there's resistance, there's friction, there's that voice telling you to go back to what's easy. And that's the exact moment your comeback is tested, not later, not when things are smooth, but right when it would be easier to quit. And if you push through that moment even once, you prove something to yourself that matters more than any external result. You prove that you can follow through, and that proof starts to rebuild your self-trust. Because if you've been inconsistent, you've started and stopped over and over, and the real damage isn't just lost progress, it's that you stop believing your own promises. And without self-trust, everything feels harder, every goal feels further away, and because deep down you're not sure you'll stick with it. So your comeback isn't just about results, it's about rebuilding that trust one action at a time and keeping small promises daily until your identity starts to shift from someone who talks about change to someone who actually executes. And that identity is it's critical because behavior follows identity, not the other way around. And if you still see yourself as lazy, inconsistent, or undisciplined, you'll subconsciously act in alignment with that belief. So you have to start redefining who you are through what you do, not what you say. And every time you show up when you don't feel like it, every time you choose progress over comfort, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. And over time, those votes stack into a new standard. And here's where most people mess up. They try to do too much too fast. They go from 0 to 100 overnight, completely overhaul their routine, and it works for a few days until reality hits and they burn out. Then they fall back with old habits and feel even worse because now it feels like proof they can't change. But the problem isn't that they can't change, it's that they approach it wrong. Real comebacks are built on consistency, not intensity. On sustainable actions repeated daily, not bursts of motivation followed by crashes. So instead of trying to fix everything at once, you focus on a few actions that actually move the needle. You commit to them no matter what, even when it's boring, even when it's small, because small, done consistently beats big ones. And occasionally, every time, and while you're doing that, you need to clean up your environment because willpower alone isn't enough to carry you long term. Your surroundings either support your goals or it sabotages them. And if you're constantly surrounded by distractions, by easy escapes, by things that pull your attention away from what matters, you're making your comeback harder than it needs to be. So you reduce the friction where it counts, make it easier to do the right things and harder to fall into the wrong ones because success is often less about massive effort and more about smart setups. Another thing you need to understand is that clarity comes from action. not thought. A lot of people stay stuck because they're trying to plan everything perfectly before they even start. They want certainty, they want guarantees, but those don't exist. And waiting for them just delays the progress. You figure things out by moving, by testing, by adjusting as you go, of course. And every step forward gives you feedback you can use to improve. So instead of overthinking your comeback, you execute it into existence. Now let's talk about time because it's one of the most common excuses. I don't have enough time. But when you actually break down your day, you'll find time is being spent, just not intentionally. It's going to distractions, to low value activities, to things that don't move you forward. And your comeback requires you to become aware of that, to take control of your schedule instead of letting it control you. Even if it's just carving out small pockets of focused time, because consistency in small windows still compounds into real results. And speaking of compounding, that's exactly how your comeback works. Like, it's not one big moment, it's a series of small wins stacked over time. Wins that might not feel significant in the moment, but build into something powerful if you stick with them. The problem is most people quit before the compound effects kick in. They expect quick results, quick validation, and when they don't see it, they assume it's not working. But progress is often invisible at first. It's happening beneath the surface, and if you stop too early, you never get to see the payoff. So patience, becomes part of the process, not passive waiting, but active consistency. Continues to execute even when results aren't obvious yet. And while you're doing all of this, you have to manage your energy because it's not just above having time, it's about having the capacity to use that time effectively. And if you're constantly tired, distracted, or burnt out, your performance drops. So taking care of your basic habits like sleep, nutrition, movement, it's an optional. It's foundational. It directly impacts your ability to stay consistent and focused. And then there's your mindset, specifically how you talk to yourself, because your intentional dialogue or your internal dialogue shapes your actions more than you realize. If you're constantly reinforcing negative beliefs, telling yourself you're not disciplined, not capable, not consistent, you'll act in alignment with that. So you need to start changing that narrative through evidence. Not empty words, by showing yourself through repeated actions that you can follow through. And let's be real, okay? There will be setbacks, days where you slip, moments where you fall off track. And if you treat those as failures, you'll quit. But if you treat them as feedback, you'll adjust and keep going. Because setbacks are part of the progress, not the end of it. And the only real failure is stopping completely. And this is where your standards matter. Because when your standards are high, a setback becomes a temporary deviation, not a permanent return of old habits. You get back on track faster because that's who you decided to be. And here's the part most people don't want to hear. You already know what you need to do. Maybe not every detail, but enough to start. You've heard the advice. You've seen the patterns. The difference now has to be execution because information without action changes nothing. And overconsumption without implementation just creates the illusion of progress while you stay in the same place. So your comeback starts when you stop consuming and start doing. When you stop waiting and start acting. When you stop negotiating and start committing. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent because consistency builds momentum, and momentum builds confidence, and confidence reinforces identity, creating a cycle that pushes you forward instead of holding you back. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Not because anything external has changed, but because you're choosing to change your response, your actions, your standards. You don't need another Monday, another month, another fresh start. Those are just delays disguised as opportunities. You already have everything you need to begin. And the only question left is whether you're going to act on it or keep pushing it off, because the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to start. And hesitation builds resistance. And while action breaks it, and once you start breaking that resistance, even in small ways, your comeback is already in motion. So start now, not later. Not when it's convenient, not when you feel ready, but right now. with whatever you have, at whatever levels you're at, and commit to showing up again tomorrow and the next day and the day after that, because that's how real change happens, not in one dramatic moment, but in the quiet decisions to keep you going. And if you can do that, if you can stay consistent when it's hard, when it's boring, when it feels slow, your comeback isn't just possible, it's inevitable. Thanks for watching today's video. If you found value in today's video, please like and subscribe. Without that subscription, I can't grow this channel, and I really need you on the team. And feel free to comment down below. I try to respond to every comment that's positive. If it's negative, don't waste my time, and don't waste yours. Thanks for watching. Check out this video to the right. It can also help you on your journey. Take care.